Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? I'm your host, Karen E. Osborne, and I am delighted to introduce you to my guest today. I think one of the best things about this show, personally, is that I get to meet new writers, I get to read new books, and I hope that's what you've been getting out of it as well. So today, my guest is K.D. Richards. Let me tell you a little about her, and then as always, she will tell you about herself. So K.D., she writes also under the name of Kia D. Richards, and she writes thriller, would you call them thriller romance novels, K.D.? Is that a good description of them?
Suspense romance and some thriller romance, both.
Both, suspense romance and thriller romance.
Some are more suspenseful than thrillery, and others are more thrillery than suspenseful.
Well, that's true for me too. I write suspense and thriller books as well. And some are a little of this and a little more of that. And your latest is book 4 of the West Investigation series, right?
Yes. Moving her son.
So one of the things that we're going to talk all about that, and she's going to tell you all about the series and everything, but I thought we would start to talk today to have a conversation about reading because we both love books. We love books.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about you as a reader when you were young. Younger. You're still young. Younger.
Yes. When I was younger, I love reading. I think that's probably every author, right? That's how we got to be authors. So that's what I spent most of my time doing as a young child. And it, it worked out well. My mom's an English teacher. My dad was also a lover of reading. So they got me into that at an early age. And I remember my first, I shouldn't say my first book, because I'm sure it wasn't my first book, but the first one I kind of consciously remember choosing myself were the 5-minute mysteries that you could pick up, and you'd have 10 5-minute mysteries in a volume, and you're trying to figure out, who did it before you get to the end. And I loved those. At the time, I never figured out who it was before.
Well, that was good writing, right? Writing.
But that's what made me want to write. I wanted to write, a mystery that someone couldn't figure out, So I did that. I wrote my first story at 11. It was a mystery. It was a thriller. It was about a monster in the woods. So, an 11-year-old version of a thriller. And that sort of started my love of writing.
And as you think about your favorite reading experience, are you kind of a curl up on a chair, or are you a listener to audiobooks, or what makes a good reading experience for you?
I am a curl up on a chair. So I'm always kind of in my head have a dream. The dream house would have a little reading nook that has the perfect couch that is just, no matter which way you sit, how you get on it, it's just perfect and comfortable, and it's the perfect size, and you have a little table for your tea and your bookmark and all this stuff. And I like to take notes when I'm reading, because I'm also reading as a writer, right? So it's like, oh, this was really good. So a little notebook. So I have my dream reading area, reading nook, but I'm definitely a print book girl. I prefer that. Now I read so many books. My husband has said, enough. You can only buy the ones that you really love, because otherwise we're going to live in a fire trap.
Where will we live?
Right. So I've cut back on my print books, and I do buy more Kindle books now, but there's some that you just have to have, and sometimes I just have to have them in Kindle, and I have to have them in print.
Yes, I agree. Those books that we want to read over and over again, and we just love. But then you do run out of space. One does run out of.
You can always just buy a bigger house.
So you started to tell us a little bit about your writing journey that your first book, first story was at 11. So take us from 11 to where we are now. Tell us about your writing journey.
Yeah, so I wrote my first story at 11. And I thought I want to be a writer when I grow up. And my dad said, "Well, I don't know about that. Writers don't make enough money, and that's kind of hard. Why don't you think about something that a profession that has a lot of writing in it? So you would be writing a lot, but and then you can write on the side and see if you can make that a go." So I ended up going to law school, and I practiced law for about 15 years. And then went into sort of legal education,
Mhm.
but always wrote, and sort of refined the craft, in the time that I had.
Yeah.
Eventually you have a family, you have a house, so time gets a little less and less each year. But I kept writing, and then my husband got a job opportunity in his native Toronto, so we moved here. And in the 6 months or so it took to get my green card here, I decided I couldn't work. So I decided, well, I'm going to polish up this last manuscript that I have, and let's just see what happens. Who knows? And that was what the first West Investigations book, Pursuit of the Truth. I submitted it, and then the pandemic hit, and everybody was working from home. And so while we were stuck together, I wrote the second book. And so by the time the first book, Harlequin got back to me about the first book and said they liked it and they wanted to purchase it. I was almost finished with the second book. I said, well, I have the second one. Maybe you want to read a couple of chapters of that one. So that's sort of how the ball got rolling.
That is excellent. So it's been one or two a year for the last 4 years, 3 years?
So I started in 2019. Time is sort of has no meaning anymore,
Yeah.
but I started in 2019. Let's say I submitted it because I had the idea for a really, really long time,
Mm.
and sort of notes, but I finished it and submitted it in early 2020, January 2020, and then they bought it in June 2020. And published it in February 2021.
And
So
then the second one came out when?
the second one came out in the summer of 2021, and then the third one, well, the second and the third came out in the not summer, September and October of 2021. So after I wrote the second, they said, well, this looks like it could be a series. You have four brothers, and then they all work in a private eye firm, so there are other people around, and you can always add more people, right?
Yeah.
So the series got going, and so I wrote the first three, and Shielding Her Son, which comes out next month or in July, is the fourth book.
That is wonderful. That's amazing because I know how much effort it takes to write a book and finish a book, and I am just envious to get 4 out in such a short period of time. I feel like a slacker. I've got to get the fourth one.
Well, I'll tell you,
door.
writing the series kind of helped because the first one, I didn't really intend it to be a series. I had the idea for Pursuit of the Truth. And then Sean West, who is the brother to Ryan West, but Ryan is the main character of Pursuit of the Truth, sort of just injected himself into the story so much that I said, okay, I'll just write a book about you. And so that's how it's been with each of the characters. There's always one secondary character that kind of stands out, and I'm like, okay, you'll be the next book. Their personality is such that the story comes pretty easily. They want to tell it to me, so
I love that. I can't tell you how, when I tell non-writers that my characters speak to me and they tell me what to do, and sometimes I'm going here and they tell me,
they just won't do it.
Non-writers look at me like, really? But when
you're crazy. You're hearing voices.
Yes, but when I'm speaking to writers, that happens to all. It seems like it happens to all of us.
They're real people, in your head, but they're real people who have an agenda, and they're not going to do what they don't want to do. It's almost like they're toddlers, right? Trying to corral them and get them to go where you want them to go, and they're not gonna do
No,
it. Not gonna happen.
I'm not doing it.
Right. It's easier for you to accept that and to go with where they want to go. You know.
So tell us a little bit more about the book that's this summer's book. Tell us about that one.
Yes, Shielding Her Son is the fourth book, as I mentioned, in the West Investigation series. The main character, the main male character, is the oldest West brother. So I actually kind of worked backwards through the brothers a little bit, and he is former military. He was injured and decided he was going to leave the military rather than take a desk job. But now he's trying to figure out what to do. So he's working for the family private investigations and securities firm. And he finds himself on a case in a small town, and a woman, his neighbor, who he's interested in, is threatened. And of course, being the chivalrous guy that he is, he decides he's going to protect them. And they're going to figure out what's going on here. And so that's how they move forward. And she's got a host of secrets. She's in town for reasons that she's never told anyone, running from some danger in her past. And so we find out her secrets, and they solve them together. And of course, it's a romance. It's a romantic suspense. So they fall in love in the process.
Sounds wonderful. That sounds like a wonderful, wonderful story and series. I love it. So,
yeah.
So romance and suspense is often not a heavy message book. But I think that all of us want our readers to feel something and experience something. So when you're writing, what is it that you hope your readers will come away besides just joy?
Yeah. Well, of course, of course you hope they like it. That they feel like they've spent the however many hours it took them to get through it, they were well spent. But also, the theme of the books that runs through is family. Like I mentioned, it's a family firm, and even when the main characters aren't necessarily West, they are part of the West family. It all connects. And so, I do want them to sort of maybe see their own family in it a little bit. The brothers have their usual brothers sibling rivalries and teasing and protective of each other, but also kind of annoyed with each other at times. So I hope that they see a real family in the books. And I hope that when whatever emotion, for instance, in Shielding Her Son, in a part of the book, or as the title suggests, really, the female character is trying to protect her son, right? And so even if hopefully your child has never been in as perilous a situation as her son is, every mother and father, aunt, uncle, grandmother, whatever, everyone probably has a child that they can relate to that you would protect with your own life. So hopefully, and that's what makes the characters tapping into those emotions. That's what makes the characters seem real.
Because they are.
Right.
Because they are.
Not just in my head, but real to everyone.
They're real. Yes. Yes. One of the things that I have found intriguing going through this show is finding how many African American women write. There's just this, I've not found an equal number of men. I'm sure they're out there and I'm looking, but it's just been such a wonderful community of Black women who write. And that's just a joyful thing. And I was speaking to a woman of South Asian descent, and she has a whole group of writer friends of similar background. Not that we don't interact with every kind of person in the world, and we want everybody to read our books. But I did want to just ask you about the community And has that been helpful to you, or?
Absolutely. So in a year or two before I even deigned to submit, my book, because like a lot of authors, I thought, well, it's not good enough, right? So
Mm.
Pursuit of the Truth is the first published book, but like most authors, it's not the first book that was written that I wrote. There are tons who are kind of lost to time and half finished, and some that are finished, but I never sent out. But I did start going to conferences, writers conferences, and
Mm.
I met Kelly Garrett. She has a book out right now called Like a Sister, and she had just started a co-created a group called Crime Writers of Color. It's been a fantastic resource, and I encourage everyone to go take a look at the crimewritersofcolor.com website. There are tons of crime writers of color and their books on that website, and you'll just see how wide a variety is out there, and how supportive the group is. Everyone is sort of cheering each other. We have smaller sprint writing groups, to keep
Mhm.
each other motivated. It's just really a fantastic group for
Authors of color.
writers,
Yeah,
writers of
that
color.
sounds wonderful. Belonging to different writing groups have been so helpful to me.
Yeah.
But I was unaware of that one. So thank you for telling me about it. So before we go, two things. So one is, do you have some books that you would recommend to our readers, something that they might enjoy, besides
Sure.
your wonderful books?
Well, today is Tuesday, and so as any avid book reader knows, that's release day. So I am at this very moment waiting for the mailman to come by with my copy of Sandra Wong's newest book, In the Dark We Forget. It looks fantastic, and I can't wait to dive into it. I just finished Kate Houlihan's book. It's called Lies She Told. It's a little older. It's not a recent book, but I just found it in the library, and it was so fantastic. And you mentioned male African American male writers. Razor Blade Tears by
Yes,
S.A.
both
Cosby.
his books are
Yes, either one.
Blacktop Wasteland. Oh my goodness, they're both so good.
So amazing. If you haven't read it, it's worth it. It is
Yeah,
so
S.A. Cosby.
S.A. Cosby, yes.
Those
Either
both
one,
of those
anything
books
he
are
writes.
awesome.
He's definitely one you want to put on your list to purchase right away.
One of the things I love about S.A. Cosby is he really is a relationship guy. It's not all action and
Yeah.
the characters. I found myself in Blacktop Wasteland caring about these characters, and I'd only read like a page and a half, and already I was getting anxious for them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's going to happen?
And you care. I read Blacktop Wasteland too, and you care about them after it's done, right?
Yes.
So it's like at the end, I was like, I want to know what happened. I want to keep up with these people because it pulls you in that much.
Yeah,
It's
he's really he's just a wonderful writer. If you are watching S.A. Cosby, I'd love to interview you. Come on over. I want to thank you so much, Katie, for spending time with us today. I know the audience appreciates it, and I know they're going to want to find you. So where could they find you?
Yeah, my website is kdrichardsbooks.com. Very simple. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at KD Richards Author. So
Excellent.
very easy.
Very, very good. And I hope that you will have enjoyed as much as I have enjoyed meeting KD Richards. And we look forward to seeing you next time on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Bye, everybody.